What's up, guys? Welcome back to the How
What's
We Fight
up?
Ethan. And this is an example of why we fight Ethan Paul. Welcome back to another episode of the How We Fight Ethan Paul podcast. The podcast where at the end of the episode we'll probably get into a fight with Ethan Paul. So we were reading How We Fight for Our Lives by Saeed Jones, and so the chapters we read are chapters 7 through 11. And so I think we should just start off with what we were looking at with our roles this week.
Yeah, so my role this week was the legend. I was
Legend.
yeah, I am a legend. Believe it or not. We didn't have a summary this week, right?
We did not have a summary this week.
Okay. So then would you like to get into yours first so I can pull up mine?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because I have to
Okay.
do my phone.
So this week I was the literary guru, pointing out those literary devices. So this week I focused on flashbacks, foreshadowing, and then I did, sorry, the last one, it was mood. So,
Nice.
for flashback, I was thinking back, so I thought, okay, in the ER, when his mom went to the ER, he was thinking back about how, like, it was a flashback to, no, actually it was foreshadowing. It was foreshadowing early on in chapter 3 about have God, like, rain down the illness on the mother. And then in the chapter, maybe it was chapter 7, 8, one of those, then it was revealed that was actually foreshadowing for his mother going into the ER. And then that was also kind of a flashback to that moment, because he was thinking back on when he was in the chapel on the pulpit, I think, on his knees. And so it was with the use of those two literary devices, Saeed kind of used like the mood of the piece was very like somber, and then especially I thought was interesting was in the ER, the mood seemed very like quick with like shorter sentences, I think, and I think also the reader wanted to like know what was happening next, so it was like very quick, and in a way you kind of felt out of breath, kind of, not like maybe not literally, but it was in like a mentally way.
I was out of
and I
breath
think.
physically. It was carbon monoxide.
Oh, that's not
Okay.
good.
Oh, that's not true.
I was thinking, well, like the mood of the story, that's very like tense, and you kind of feel out of breath, almost like how the mom is scared and out of breath because
Yeah.
she's having.
That was
problems
really
with the
sad.
Yeah,
that scene was
It was-
really actually.
This is
really,
tough.
It was really
very
hard
sad.
to read.
It was hard to read.
I cried.
Uh-huh. So moving on, what did?
So for this week, my lit role was connector.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basically connecting the themes of the story to my life and to my community and the world. I basically connected to my own life. I feel like it's gonna take a while. Whatever.
That's fine.
Okay, so there's a quote where Saeed is like talking to his mother, and it's like his mother's like, Saeed, I can't pay for your college. It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And Saeed is like, we'll figure it out. And then he realizes like, oh, I just said we'll figure it out, but like,
Really,
what I
it's
really
my
meant
mom.
is that you'll
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
it out. Dude, this is too much. And I kind of realized a similar thing happens in my life where it's just like, it's like a sort of similar thing where it's sometimes if I'm going through like a really rough section of school, my dad will be like you and I are gonna get through this. And then what actually ends up happening is instead of like, working together, it's sort of just like he has to bear the stress of having to deal with someone who is going through like a stressful part of school and who also like can't drive, so drive me around all the place while I'm doing the work and like, because it's my work, obviously. So it's less of like a sort of like a team like exercise. It's just like him feeling the full brunt of dealing with someone who's really stressed out all the time.
Yeah.
So it just sucks.
Yeah, I think a lot of like parents would be that way, and I think it's Also because no one can fight your battles for you.
Right, obviously.
Yeah,
That would be bad.
It would be bad if like your parent was like, "Oh, let me do your algebra for you."
But it's just kind of sad. It's just
Mhm.
kind of sad that it's like, oh, he just has to sit there
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and listen to me like lament about how stressed I am. It's
But
like,
sometimes that could just be like a nice thing to just get off your chest, and it's
Yeah, or to just have someone there with
Mhm.
you can be nice too. But I get what you're saying.
yes.
So then connect to your community. Most of this part takes place in North Texas. Maybe take a guess where we are right now.
We are in Chicago.
Yeah. So there's a quote about living in the South. It was so like my sexuality was so repressed, and then it's like I went to Kentucky, and then it's like way cooler there, and I can actually be gay. But in North Texas, I didn't really feel like I could do that, which is relevant because we live here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Connect the World is like.
Is there any? I'm sorry.
This
Was
is the
there?
last one.
No, I mean like, was there more of a connection than besides like living in Texas? Do you feel that like living in North Texas, you feel like part of you is kind of repressed?
Not
And-
really, but I'm also not super.
It's a pretty standard guy.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say I'm queer.
But I will
but,
say
I
that
don't
like
know.
especially
It's not super important to me.
I mean even if you take like CHS people, you can't really like be out there and you like
Yeah.
I
it's
never
very,
knew anybody who was out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I only know people in like the theater department.
Yeah,
then
and like it's either theater or like the GSA, which is like 5 people. So
Yeah. And then I've also heard, I don't know if it's true, I never saw it, but like heard that people were ripping out like the like queer pages and of the CHS, like I don't know if it was like the GSA and like the yearbook, but I heard people were like ripping them out of the yearbook. And
Yeah.
it's,
Wait, like their personal yearbook?
yeah, I think it's like the person like
They
they
don't
get
wanna
it and
see
they're
it.
like, oh, what's this gay stuff, and they rip it
Yeah,
out.
they
of the
That's
pages,
weird.
which I mean,
but I mean
it's
yeah.
it's a demonstration of like North Texas, I think, and it's not just like CHS. It's also like the thoughts of like other people in the area,
Mhm.
and so it's upsetting. And I'm glad we have a community here where it's more accepting.
Yeah, I mean how I see it is just I don't really care what other people do. I don't really care. Like if you want to do that, that's fine. You
Mhm.
know.
I never went to the CHS GSA, but I go to the New Tech GSA like
Mhm.
basically every week.
Let's go. Ethan representing.
I'm
I'm
not
for-
a representative
No, I
sample.
know you're representing
I'm
the straight community.
I'm not. I'm bisexual.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
You're representing the bisexual community. Wait, no, I can't let you have that.
bisexual people.
Okay, continue.
This is
continue.
horrible. Okay, and then there was
the connection to.
that's it.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
this one's boring. This one
Oh.
sucks.
Okay, I mean we can move on. Yeah, we
Okay.
don't want to, waste any time.
It's also really long.
Oh.
So
sorry I couldn't bring something quality.
Do you want to like
No,
just
no, that was
give like a
pretty
quick like summary like what the connection was to like the specific event in the story?
There's basically just like Saeed's mother is like collapses after work in the parking lot, and she just like sits in her car, is like, okay, and doesn't go to the doctor. And I thought that was like a classic.
relatable. I mean, I'll say I relate to that because my mom actually gets mad at me for this, but I'm very like I don't usually like if I'm in pain or something's wrong, I don't usually say anything until like it's been too long. So like when I was younger, my eardrum like ruptured or whatever, like it burst, and
Okay.
I like was in a lot of pain, but I like didn't say anything, and so like I guess my mom figured it out somehow after a while, and then we had to go to the doctor or whatever. But like I literally just like didn't say anything because I don't. There's not even like I'm scared to say something or I don't want to. I just like genuinely am like, oh, it's probably not that big of a deal, whatever.
Mhm.
It's funny because I usually like in that same situation, I'll like look at people who are in the situation and be like, dude, you gotta go to the doctor. Like you have to, like you should
Mhm.
probably say something or something. But then, like, if I'm in that situation,
Yeah, I
I'm
won't.
just
Yeah.
like, well, it's different for me.
Well, especially if I have stuff to do. I'm like, well, I got all this stuff to do. Like,
yeah,
I
it's
can't
like
deal
I
with
gotta,
that right now.
I gotta get my grade up. I gotta get my grade up.
You
I
don't
can't
play with
afford.
dirt. I can't have a ruptured eardrum.
Yeah.
Can't afford to spend the
I
time.
gotta go eat some dirt.
Gotta go eat a football.
Build that
Um,
immune system.
But yeah, so a little bit on my role, I was just identifying some reasons why, like, I thought that this book was written as a memoir. And I feel like my overall reason was just that it can be a very comforting thing for a lot of people to hear that their experiences are shared and that they're not really alone in thinking the things that they think or feeling the things that they feel. Because, like, kind of like we discussed in the last episode, like, this, I don't know, this book is very, very honest and raw, and, like, I think for people hearing a lot of the stuff that maybe they think but they can't say to anyone can be very comforting. And, like, I think also part of it is seeing this growth, like seeing Saeed's growth as like a young man growing up and where he grew up, and like seeing this growth that can be pretty relatable for a lot of people. Like everybody goes through a lot of changes, a lot of growth.
Everybody grows
And-
up.
Yes, everyone grows up,
Yeah.
but it can be specifically more difficult for people who like have certain identities. And so I think that it's kind of cathartic to read something where someone is experiencing, you know, some of these like deepest feelings and emotions that maybe you don't want to say, but like it's nice to hear someone else, you know, talk about or feel.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was kind of my overall, you
Especially
know,
since it's
idea.
about his identity, and he's in somewhere that like suppresses that identity in North
Yeah.
Texas.
we can get into some of the questions.
Yeah, I think
like,
so. For moving on, we are going to talk about like I think this podcast is more focusing on also the characters of the novel and how they impact Saeed's life. So
mhm.
we're talking about like what are the who are three key characters in this novel who are important to Saeed's life.
So
Mother.
Saeed Jones.
Well,
Obviously.
it's
just
key
three
characters. Oh, I guess
other key
It
characters.
says
other
other.
key character.
Oh, right, because it's
Yeah.
implied that the main character is the author.
I think he has an impact on himself.
true,
Sure.
but we'll go with the mother.
Yeah, Carol
Um,
Jones, Saeed Jones' mother.
And
Definitely
then
the
the grandma.
The grand, yeah.
And then I like
It's hard to
It's
choose
hard to judge.
because the other people I feel like are his college friends. Is
Yeah.
what I
Yeah,
would
like
to say.
is Rob gonna become more important later?
I
Don't know.
I think someone who is going to become important later, who we're not going to like see a whole lot, and I think hopefully in the next chapter, is
Kingsley,
like
the dog.
yes, definitely Kingsley the dog
Really?
is going to become a human, and he's going to come to life, and he's going to give Saeed a hug. No, I think the man in the photograph, he's going to come back.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
that's kind of weird because he's dead. So like
Well,
Well, he's not
but
gonna come back to life. We're
He's
Yeah,
just
not
I
going to
saying
come back. I'm
right?
saying like in the story, he's coming back
as a symbol.
because he's, as Hannah said, I think last week,
Character as a
Chekhov's
symbol.
gun.
Yeah. It was actually funny how that translated to the transcript. Sorry, I don't think it translated Chekhov properly, but yeah,
Check off gun.
it was. Oh my God! Wait, what was it mentioned? Oh, when Saeed came out to his mom, which if we had a summarizer this week, that would be a key point.
Yes.
Saeed came out to his mom, and when he came out to her, one of the first things his mom asked him was if he was using protection, like if he was having
Yes.
sex, and then if so, was he using protection?
If he was having experiences.
Sure.
Yes, but she also made sure, and especially like leaving for college, she's like always said, make sure you're always wearing a condom.
Yeah, because I think then we have this guy that died of AIDS, and I think he's gonna come back as a symbol for something, because clearly, like I feel like what happened is his mom knew this person, she was close with him, and then he got AIDS and then killed himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got AIDS and then killed himself, and then it kind of left a lasting impact on his mom, and so she really doesn't want that for her son.
Because she also said that when he left for college, she dropped him off at college,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's just like, wear a condom, and that was
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
thing she said.
Yeah.
Because like they said they wanted to like surprise each other before they leave, so they have like no time to like
feel.
Feel.
Yeah, feel
I don't,
anything.
I don't really know if the grandma is actually going to be that much more important. Like
Well,
she
keeps-
was an important character early on.
Yeah, but she keeps coming back in flashbacks though.
I always come back.
Because she, like, at the end of chapter 11, or
She's
yeah,
in the
or
chapter.
in chapter 11, it's talking about like how he was like, I mean, I'll just say this. When my grandmother called me inside, I threw the branches down with force, as if I could shove aside the rush of embarrassment taking hold. She stood at the front door, her brows I don't know how to say this.
Furrowed, yeah.
Yeah, okay. As I slowly walked toward her. And this is just talking about like her disapproving of his femininity.
Mhm.
But like I think this is gonna come up. I
Oh,
think it's
right.
gonna continue to come up in
Yeah.
flashbacks.
You're right, actually. I actually forgot about the flashback. I was more so
Yeah.
thinking about the just the like brief mentioning. It was like, oh right, she asked the preacher to send 1,000,000 plagues upon her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the grandmother is kind of a symbol for like. You done with that?
Yep.
Okay. So, I think the grandma is kind of a symbol for like, I don't know how to phrase it, being just kind of maybe the expectations that he has put on him, or like the how. I don't know how to phrase it. I think she's
I think I know what you're saying. Like the symbol for like oppression, or
yes.
like. I feel like oppression is like one of the best words I can think of right now. Like I can't think of really another word, but I know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like we kind of see in this, like, later part of this set of chapters that he starts to kind of like second guess his choices, and like, cause he'll say like, yeah, this one quote, he was like, "At times I was proud of my sluttiness. I like to think that it was radical, as if the act of sleeping with another man and then bragging to my friends about it was a form of protest against the shame I'd grown up with, and against the shame I felt silently radiate from the new people in my life. But just as often, I found myself pushed to wonder by the wide eyes around me whether something was wrong with me."
Mhm.
So like, even though he's kind of like finding this freedom, he still feels that shame within him, and I think that like, we kind of see that his grandma like becomes almost a symbol of that, and like he has these flashbacks to like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in that sense, like, you know, assuming, say, grandma is old, like,
No, she's pretty young.
if she dies in the story and she's like a significant character, she will probably continue to be a significant character even after her death.
Yeah, because it's like the
based
idea
on
of
that.
her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the guy in the photo,
Yeah. And I think we haven't like.
Chekhov's guy.
Yeah,
Chekhov's guy.
that's his name, Chekhov's guy. And then I think we haven't talked about. We said that she was important, but we haven't talked about her a lot. The mom. Talked
Oh,
about her
yeah.
as someone. And I think we know about them is what we know is that they had a friend who killed themselves when they found out they had AIDS. They were gay. And then we kind of see her be accepting of her son, but not like.
She doesn't really
Enthusiastic.
say it. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
She's
but
not-
she kind of does, like, she's pretty a little bit out about it. I wish I, like,
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't
I had a
think
better
she's
format to look at this because,
she's very enthusiastic about it.
no, but she, like, points out, like,
Oh look, those,
here, look, okay, I got it.
in the New York.
This quote where she says, "Saeed, there was a man dressed as a woman." She smiled brightly, but now I feel panicked. I worried that my mother was making fun of me, figuring it had to be some kind of joke or a test. Pretend to see gay man, point them out to Saeed, see if he's happy, maybe a bit too happy. So that's what Saeed thinks, but I think actually his mom is trying to like almost like reach out a bit and like
And that's also the effect of the shame we were talking about earlier, where it's just like,
his internal shame.
yeah, where it's just like, oh, someone is actually like being enthusiastic and positive about
Mhm.
her identity. It's like,
But like
but what if it's a trick?
Yeah, but what if she's like trying to trick me? What if this is all like a goof and she actually doesn't want to support me?
A big trick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of, I don't know. I feel like the mom is reaching out more, and I think they probably got closer after,
Mm-hmm.
obviously after his mom had to go to the hospital and you know that whole stuff. I mean, they were always very close, and I think also another moment where we see his mom's effect on him is another moment where you see his mom's effect on him is this moment where like he's basically praying to be able to afford college. Like I'll read the quote. It was I was at her Buddhist altar chanting when she got home from work. She watched me from the doorway in her Delta uniform, holding her 2 purses with her sunglasses in her hand. And that quote, like, I feel like it was very important also because we can see, like, Saeed is turning to Buddhism instead of, like, Christianity. And I think that's an important reflection in our own world in that, like, people, when we try to force religion on people, they're not actually going to fully accept it. And they're not actually going to go turn to it when they need it the most, if that makes sense.
Well,
so, like,
the thing is, like, Saeed did have it forced on him, but it was not at, like, a very young age. Because, you know, if it's forced onto people at, like, a very, very young age, then it becomes, unfortunately, highly effective.
I don't know, though, because I get what you're saying. I think it becomes effective at a young age. But as people get older, a lot of times they they turn very far away from it.
Yeah, especially if they, like distance themselves from who raised them.
Was he forced into religion? Oh, I guess he was with the grandmother.
Well, yeah, but
she would make him go to church all the time.
He was mostly staying with his mother.
Yeah.
Who didn't do that.
Yeah.
No, I know. I was just saying, like, whenever he was with his grandmother, she would always take him to church, like, 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And, like, force him to pray that his mother wouldn't be Buddhist.
I think it wasn't always 2 to 3 times a week. I think it started off on that Sunday, and then it kind of increased. Yeah.
Do we know if Saeed's mother ever, like, put him onto Buddhism?
What?
Sorry, we're recording a podcast.
I am so sorry.
Would you like to say hi? Miss Beatty's gonna watch this.
Hi.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
Okay, continue.
So, like, do we know if, like, Saeed's mother ever did, like, a similar thing with Buddhism? Like, did she ever bring him to, I mean, are there Buddhist churches? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure, like, there's Buddhist temples.
Did she ever do that?
I don't think she ever really, but, like, where is there gonna be a Buddhist temple in, like, 1990s North Texas?
Oh, I guess it is.
If we're talking about from a young age, Saeed was born in the 90s.
1998.
Even 2000s. People would probably just, especially after 9/11, I feel like people would just be like, oh, that's, like, not okay.
Yeah.
Even though that's, like, Asian, but whatever.
Yeah. I think we hear about her going to the temple and then Saeed being like, oh, he's at home. So I don't think he was ever, like, forced into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of rocking with the mom. I like her.
Yes.
And then I feel like now, like, kind of going on to the college friends to kind of wrap up this stuff about people, and then we can get on to the legacy stuff. But I feel like the dog, right? But the college friends, I feel like, also kind of play a big role in that they almost start to slightly feed into his own fears about himself in a way. Not that they're doing it consciously, but he interprets what they're saying as, like, part of his own fears. And because he starts talking about how he was like, oh, I no longer talk to my friends about my hookups or anything like that, so now I can't talk to anyone about stuff that I'm doing, like, either at school or at home. So then he starts to feel more distance from them, even though at first he felt like he was, like, super close and all that.
Tries to come out to his mom. Just what you said reminded me of this. Tries to come out to his mom, and he does it very nonchalantly. He's just like, yeah, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And then he realizes, like, after the phone call's over, like, I kind of only, like, half came out because I was like, oh, I'm gay, but I didn't say that, like, I have sex all the time.
I literally have this thing here. It says, I'm on the page. I had come out to my mother as a gay man, but within minutes I realized I had not come out to her as myself.
So
basically,
what you said reminded me of that.
Yeah. Just not really being his true self.
And then do we want to move on to the last part?
Yeah.
Let's go.
So the third question is, why is Kingsley the best person in this story?
Because he's awesome, epic, cool, and a dog.
Dogs are great.
So he's dog.
Yes. Okay.
But
Based on what you've read so far, Why do you think the author is sharing their story at this point? What legacy are they really trying to leave behind?
I mean, I kind of talked about this a little bit with because that was kind of my role, like what I was talking about. But I mean, I would like to hear more from like what y'all think about it. You know,
Yeah.
what are y'all thoughts about
But-
legacy the
yeah.
author's trying to?
I think that he is doing this to show like, even like, if people say like the thoughts you have are not okay, like there are other people in the world who have the similar thoughts as you. If like even if you grow up in a place where you feel or you are not treated differently because of who you are as a person, or people judge you because of who you are, you can still meet people in your future you can still meet people along the way in your path who are supportive of you, and then no matter like what you go through in your life, you can still things will always be better, and that you should never give up. People have also had similar stories to you. You're not on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Well, yeah.
No.
What kind of no? God, like what?
Just about like the legacy. That they're
Yeah,
doing.
just like any thoughts that you have about it. I mean, it doesn't have to be that serious. Just any thoughts.
I don't know, just sort of about, I don't know, I guess they're trying to leave a legacy of like these struggles of, so like I feel like we pretty frequently hear about the struggles of like, you know, having an identity that is suppressed in an area of like a political area, but I think this memoir's legacy goes further by exploring that within the context of growing up, which I think is interesting. That's what I think.
I think that we know that they are leaving a legacy because we know their name, and as you know, if you don't know someone's name, they cannot leave a legacy, as Ethan Paul has said previously.
I did.
You think?
You remember when we had like the legacy
Oh
thing?
yeah. Oh, maybe that was wrong.
Yeah, whatever. But I think overall, I feel like one great thing about this book and one great part of like I think part of this legacy is just that I almost want to say also like these you hear about, you know, people like he was talking about the black people who like were like murdered not that far from him, and like he heard about it on the news, and it was just like you hear about that kind of stuff a lot, but sometimes you don't really like you can't really know who they were as a person, or you don't really feel that like humanity when you're just seeing a name on a screen, you know, and like watching the news or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I
Like,
think
50 people died.
yeah, I think part of it is also adding to the like you're adding all of this complexity behind an identity that you often don't get to see on just like the news or
Yeah, it's actually kind of
whatever.
weird because sometimes like news stories will only like provide an identity of like a victim of a crime, for example. Like if it's actually like if there's no someone is like I don't have like a specific example of this. This is just something that I feel like I've personally observed is like if someone is like killed and they don't actually have a picture of the person who was killed, they don't actually have like any description for who they were. Sometimes it's just like
a person was killed.
oh yeah, a person
Yeah.
was killed.
They don't have a story that can like draw you in, because they want to get the views, get the clicks,
Well,
they want to
yeah.
go viral.
I think just overall, it's like it just gives you a different perspective. It's like that feeling
a
of like
face to the-
humanity. Yeah, a face to the identity that we see a lot.
And also, I think I like that it does is it's not afraid to talk about things. There's a lot of like taboo in our society, and this memoir like doesn't care about that, and it's just like, yep, we're gonna talk about it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
Well,
like that a lot
we
too.
are
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, we are talking about it right
Yeah.
now.
So I think that is something that really important. It's really important because breaking down that taboo makes it more of like, we are humans. We do these things. We should be able to talk about them. Maybe not in a school, because I don't want to talk about all what happened necessarily.
saying
Yeah,
he had sex.
but I
like,
think the
3 times.
ideas, but I think the ideas like
Mhm.
are very important to be discussed.
Yeah, I think we as a society should be talking about more of ourselves in a more vulnerable way. I think so that we can show that to people that being that part of you is human,
Yeah,
and that
we're
we
all
all
just people.
experience that.
Yeah, I
we
think
are all people.
I think I talked about this last time, but like it's
Mhm.
honestly just really inspiring, like how willing
Mhm.
Cy Jones is to just like put himself out there.
Yeah.
In this year memoir.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
All right, thanks for watching
this
us fight
video is
Chipotle.
sponsored by Chipotle.
Thank you,
Again,
Chipotle.
yeah.